Hey, what's going on, you guys? Straw Hat Izzy, aka the Izzy Cruise, if you watch me over on Twitch. And today, you guys have been PMing me and messaging and Discording and Twittering and doing all the things and stuff. And I'm here to answer all of those messages and all those questions and all those things on the previous Jesmon deck profile that we did recently. It is my best performing video yet, and I wasn't going to put out another one. It was not my goal to put out another Jesmon deck profile after I just did this one. But you guys are asking for all the things, and who am I to not give you the stuff when you ask, right? A couple shout outs I want to give out, and this is going to be a very unscripted video. I'm going to basically just be going over the deck, play lines, answering your questions from the previous YouTube video, going over things to do pre-ban list, post-ban list, and just different texts you can play and different interactions that are interesting, I guess. Like I said, it's gonna be unscripted, hence why you're seeing me right now, and then I'm gonna like turn down my camera, and there might be some weird stuff going on. So I'm not a big editor. It's not, it's never been my thing on the channel to make like the fancy gameplay or do the cool transitions. I wish I could do all that, but I'm not that guy. I'm just here to pass on the information I find through my tournaments and through my deck building and through my practice, and hopefully pass on that information to you guys so you can use it for your tournaments and through your playtesting sessions and different things like that. So a couple shout outs before we get into it, just because I want to talk about all the people that have helped me get to this point with this deck specifically. Eddie and Corey, also known as Frosty on my team, have done a tremendous work in helping me with this deck. This is the newest version that we plan on playing in Ex3, and it has a bunch of tech cards, and we already been talking about this deck like crazy. Corey goes out and looks for all the crazy tech cards. Eddie helps me with the gameplay and different interactions, and then myself playing the deck, and we all kind of function to make this thing. So if anything, this is an amalgamation of all three of us working together to make this deck. So there's that. I'd also like to shout out Tyler from Guy Force Gaming. One, for giving me a shout out on his Jesmon deck profile. If you guys haven't seen that, go check that out. Guy Force Gaming is where I play my locals, basically, webcam, because I don't have an actual local in my location, so we do that. But he also put out video with Primitive, I think it was like an hour before I even started to record this, on just the competitiveness of being a card player and just their perspective of competition. So if you guys want to, I would highly suggest go checking that out. That's a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge that you guys can find from there. But like I said, it's going to be unscripted, guys. There's going to just be a lot of off-the-wall things, and, it's probably going to be a longer video, probably something you listen to, not something you really watch. And regardless, I appreciate you guys for being there. I do have a goal. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by the end of November. Would be great. End of the year, most likely. If you guys can help with that, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if there's anything else, any other questions you guys want to ask, anything you want to roast me about, whether it be editing or Izzy, you're bad at this game, why are you giving me advice? Go ahead, put it in the comments. I'm going to answer a lot of your guys' YouTube comments. I do read them. I do try to answer them to the best of my ability in the time that I'm allotted. If I agree, you'll see a little heart reaction almost always. If I don't agree, or if there's more I want to elaborate on, I usually comment. So, and then if I leave you completely vacant, do with that information as you will. Okay, so we're going to go on to the deck list that we are currently going to be playing for EX3, because there's not really a lot of a big point to play BT10 for me. I know we have 2 more weeks. We might have, I think it's 1 Ulti Cup in BT10, in which case just go back to the previous Jesmon deck profile that I put out. I think that one's good enough for the BT10 format. I think it's really strong. Yeah, so I'm focusing a little bit more on the future with this deck list specifically, but for BT10, if you want to play this deck, look at the previous deck profile, and it helps me out, the views. Appreciate it. Okay, guys? So I'm going to move the camera. I know it's going to be a lot of transitioning, but we'll get there. And boom. Also, shout out to Tyler for sending me this Skyforce Gaming map, because we won it, and it's really cool, and different things like that. So I'm just going to go through the deck profile, and somebody did comment that I go and flip the cards a lot. I'm sorry, it's a nervous habit, but I will try to make it easier on your guys' eyes. So this is Gurimon. We play 4 of it. Best egg. Makes it so that when you attack, you draw a card. You don't need a 5th egg. Very good card. So just play 4. This is standard across all the Jesmon deck profiles I've put out since this card's inception. From rookies, we are playing 4 copies of Searcher Huckmon because this card is really good. So Searcher Huckmon looks at the top 5, adds Sistermon or Jesmon or a Huckmon card. It searches so many cards. It's a really good hard play, but you want to be careful with this card because you don't want to bottom deck too many pieces. So use it as a selective searcher. I know in the past I've said, hey, don't evolve this in the back unless you have full line, and I still pretty much agree with that. But overall, you want to know what pieces you're searching for when you use this card. So there's that. 4 copies of this Huckmon. From there, we are playing 4 copies of the best Huckmon, the best rookie in this deck, in my opinion. This Huckmon is from BT7. Really good. Because what it does is it looks at the top 5 cards of your deck when attacking, and you add all Sistermons that you find. Yes, you can bottom deck quite a bit of different cards, but it makes it so that you don't really need Sistermons in your hand when you're going up into a Jesmon Blitz line, because statistically, you are going to find one between this and, like, from Master Disciple and, you know, this Huckmon. Like, the math is so much in your favor to find a Huckmon, or to find a Sistermon based off the Guri draw, and usually in the combo you Digivolve the Savior that turn, and then you Digivolve the Blitz. So that's 3 draws, and then 5 cards from the top. So you're searching 8 cards just off that combo alone, in combination with any other card you may have used previously. So this Huckmon's really good, really strong. Fun fact, it plays around Ultimate Flare, so if you're trying to play around that card, go into this Huckmon. Next, remember guys, this is for EX3, so bear with me. 2 copies of Solarmon. So 2 copies of Solarmon are really good in EX3. Plays around a lot of the Crossheart mechanic, which will not be as big of a thing anymore. Great thing about the ban list is the ban list took away probably the 2 biggest threats to Jesmon in the upcoming format. Xmon will still be hard, Bloomlord will still be hard, but you have a lot more counters. It took away Alphamon, and Alphamon is really good into Jesmon, like absurdly good. If you're wondering why in like Latin America Jesmon wasn't doing as well, maybe it was because of builds, but overall it was because Alphamon is just so powerful into Jesmon. Being able to kill the Decoy Blanc and then kill the big stack, and then possibly OTK your opponent was way too strong. So with that tool being removed, that is a big buff to Jesmon, as well as Sunrise Buster being removed, and as well as X4 being removed, so you don't have to rely on this card as much. Yeah, it's still good into Blue Flare, and they need like Trident to bounce it, because this card basically like destroys the Blue Flare deck. So there's that. And Blue Flare is not it's a counter, but it's not like the best counter in my opinion. I think it's still okay. Strong deck, but it's okay. Now for a little bit of spice for EX3. I am playing, and this was Frosty's idea, 2 copies of Gaussmon. And Gaussmon, for those who aren't familiar because it is an older card, if you have another Gaussmon in play, first off, this your other Gaussmon gets plus 3,000, but if you have 2 Gaussmons, that means they both get plus 3,000, so they're 5k each. But it is a Floodgate rookie, which is really cool, because your opponent's turn, your opponent cannot reduce Digivolution costs, and that is important in the Mirror, Bloomlord, for HPD, for hybrid decks. Like, being able to stick this as a Floodgate can sometimes just derail your whole opponent's turn. So in the Jesmon Mirror, if you can like full combo and then stick a Gaussmon while they have Master Disciple on field, then it's going to be a rough time for them because they can't reduce that Digivolution cost anymore. So that's a big thing. Gaussmon's really, really good. Against Bloomlord specifically, they can't Digisorb, which is huge. Against Grandis, it can be very good because it makes the Grand Quagga play, where they Digivolve for 2, not a thing, so now they have to Digivolve for 3, so that can mess up their memory in some regards. It's not a great solution, but it's a band-aid, right? So yeah, and this deck will still struggle into Grandis, but I think it's okay. Like, I think there are ways to beat Grandis. One of them, which Frosty told me about, which a cool interaction to where Grandis doesn't kill you, and you potentially crack them on the crackback. So that's it for rookies. I'm playing 12, which is more than I was playing in any previous deck profile, but there's rhyme and reason to each. I wanted to split the Floodgates for 2 too. If I was to cut down on any card, honestly, it'd probably be the Searcher Huckmon. As weird as that sounds, I'd probably put this card down to 3, because you always want to hardcast it. You never really want to evolve in the back, and you have enough vanillas inheritables anyway. So like I don't want to cut down this one because I want to open this one. This one is only used to search certain pieces, so that's why. That's the explanation there, guys. And some of you may be like, you're cutting down on searcher? Yeah, because it's kind of a fake searcher. If you have to hard cap this turn 1, you always have to take a rookie off of this. And then because you're only playing, you know, the 7 other searchable rookies, if you take this one, it kind of sucks. But if you take this one, it's good. And then the following turn, you have to evolve into a rookie, and then you get to take a separate piece. Whether, you know, if I only play 3, and like I could just have any other rookie and it'd be okay. So there's that. All right, champions. This lineup does not change. 4 copies of the BT6 Balhuckmon. I don't draw this card, apparently. When we were playtesting, the joke always was Frost would be like, Izzy, you forgot to delete their 5k or less guy. And I'm like, no, I have the other one. And he's just like, how do you always have the other one but never this one? This is the best Balhuckmon. It's really good, really strong. So definitely play 4 of it. And then from there, we play 4 more copies of this Balhuckmon. The plus 1000 can be relevant, but the reason you play is because it's just another Balhuck. Being able to have all of your champions searchable is really strong. So I wouldn't differentiate from this. I know I've seen some people play like Geogray and, you know, maybe Greymon, Sec plus 1. I don't think those cards are necessary. Yeah, they can win you games, but more than often than not, they're like not winning you games and they get you bottom decked more often. Whereas if you just get these searchable pieces, you're in a better position. So there's that. It's only 8 champions. From there, we are playing 4 copies of the newest Savior Huckmon. This is the best ultimate in the deck. It's so strong. Judgment of the Blade effect when digivolving, and then being able to play Sistermon from your hand or trash when attacking is just so powerful. Like, actually ridiculous card. You know, so 4 copies of this. From there, I didn't play this in my GFG winning deck, and I didn't make a deck profile for that. Some of you may not have known that I won a GFG with just one. That was cool. I did not play this because I didn't think I needed it, and then in playtesting, there were like a couple games where I wish I had it just to be able to do like CL combo into like Blitz Jesmon. I still think it's good to play as a one of. It's worse than this one because it's worse than this one. This one's only good with the Blitz Jesmon, and then like you can do 2 checks and then the following turn swing, do 2 checks, and then restand, and then do 2 more checks, and then they're probably lethal, but yeah, it's okay. Like, it can win you games. It's really cool to have in trash. Yeah, that's all. It's good. But it's definitely worse than the other one. And last ultimate I play is 1 copy of Chimeramon. I didn't want to cut this card because I think this card gives you a lot of value. I think it's really strong in a lot of different matchups, especially against Blue Flare. They stun your board, and then you're just like, okay, I'll Chimera now. That was cool. And then being able to reduce and then being able to Balhuck is also really strong in that combination. So, very good card. It makes it so that if any of your cards are in trash, any of your good inheritables, you just get it back. So I think playing 1 copy of it was good. In GFG, I played 2 copies of Chimera, and I didn't play this card, but I ended up like not being able to search Chimeras and like trashing Chimeras and stuff like I don't know. I think the 1-1 split is very warranted, but if you don't want to play the Savior for some reason, play the second Chimeramon, and I think it's just as good. The only thing I would say is that like this evolving Chimera in the back is really bad, and I haven't done it yet, but this can put pressure and can be something your opponent may not think about if you put like a champion in the back, champion in the front. So there's that. From there, we are playing 3 copies of the Blitz Jesmon. Yes, we are playing 3. This card's really good. Fantastic. This is the mega you want to see immediately, and it does like a lot of damage. I know there are people that play 4 copies of the Jesmon, but I think if you're going to do this, you should just only play Jesmon X and don't play Jesmon GX, because then you're playing almost an entirely different deck. They have 2 different goals, and there's different cards in your deck. If you play the Jesmon Blitz version with X, you have a lot less power, but you have a lot more space for more creative cards, more tech cards, right? Like more defensive options possibly, more tamers if you want, more memboosts, things like that. But I felt like I wanted to put as many powerful cards in my deck as possible because at the end of the day, Jesmon has like one of the highest ceilings of any deck ever printed, and it's not close. So, yeah. If you're going to play the Jesmon X version, play 4 of this one, but in this version specifically, I think playing 3 of this is very, very good. From there, I've cut down on my Jesmon X antibodies. I'm going down to 2, and, you know, there's a reason for that. Well, this card's very good, but it's very bad post the combo that you do. So typically you'll be like, swing Jesmon, Jesmon play CL, go ahead and Digivolve into this guy play another guy. But on the following turn, if you don't have this Savior underneath, you're not doing much. And even then, he's only 11k. Like, he's not doing much else besides being a big piercer. And if you have this one underneath of him, it's really bad. So we decided to cut down on it. Still want to keep at least 2 in the deck because it's really strong in doing that full combo that you guys have seen, if not in the previous Jesmon deck profile, that big Jesmon GX combo. And even this just being a boss monster can be really good sometimes. Being able to just like Digivolve over Jesmon for 0, and then all of your guys can attack over all of their unsuspended is really strong. So 2 copies, really, really good. In the other version, where you play 4 of the Blitz one, and then you would play 3 of this Jesmon, that's what you would do. So just giving you a few more options there, guys. From there, we are playing 1 copy of Genkumon X Antibody. This card is still really good. This card is still really phenomenal because it makes it so that your cards can't get bottom decked and they can't get bounced. I may bump this up to 2 again, but there's something else I want to try, and there's reasons for me wanting to do it. This card's going to be really good into the Hydramon. Is that what it's called? Hydramon? That bottom decks cards, but like this card says they can't. This card makes it so that Melga can't beat you. One, even if you have this guy with CL and then Blanc, they have to bounce Blanc. Then they have to bounce CL. Then they can maybe bounce this. And even on the turn you Digivolve into this, they can't do any of that. So really strong. It's a great win condition against Imperial, so that's also a great thing. But 1 copy of it. If you would like, you can play 2, substitute it for the next card that I'm going to talk about. But I think 1 is fine. If you play more of a GX type of deck, like more GXs than I typically play, maybe 3 copies in your deck, then yeah, you can go ahead and play second one of this. You want as many targets for GX as possible because that's going to be like your 1 tower and done. But I didn't want to make my deck a 1 tower and done type of deck because I felt like it would lead to more bricking and, you know, go from there. Just going to take a sip of water. Like I said, unscripted, guys. Unscripted. Alright. From there, the last Mega in my deck, and it's a little bit of a weird choice. I'm playing 1 copy of Starter Deck Genkumon. So 1 copy of Starter Deck Genkum. This card's really cool because it allows you to do cool things in the mirror. The Jesmon mirror can be a little difficult. Sometimes you can't get over their big bodies. And this being able to de-Digivolve their Digimon is really strong. And then being able to put this underneath Jesmon GX. Or like swing this, play a guy, de-Digivolve 2 more things. It's really good. So I found it to be really good. If you don't like this card, like I said, just play a second copy of this one. But there are cool interactions where you can like de-Digivolve their guy, make it really hard for them to play, and then play a guy, and then Digivolve into this for 1, and then play another guy. So really good memory choke play, and then you get 2 bodies out of it. The real reason I like Genkumon so much is because Genkumon allows you to play an additional Huckmon, not just a Sistermon. So typically in the Jesmon mirror, they can clear 1 Jesmon stack, but not a second. So being able to de-Digivolve their guys, and then make this, and then bring out a Huckmon, right, allows you to make a second stack in the front, even if you don't have anything in the raising area. And then you get to do like full combo from there after they crack your board. So really good against decks like Imperial, anything that Digivolves. Like against Blue Flare, play a guy and then de-Digivolve their guy so that it doesn't do anything again is really cool. They lose materials that way, so that's really strong. Yeah, I think it's a really good card. I think it's worth testing. If I tend to not like it in the future, then I would cut it. And like I said, you guys don't have to play it. It's just something I'm testing. I just think it's really strong, really neat. From there, I'm playing still 1 copy of Jesmon GX. Two reasons. One, I don't own a second one, but even if I owned a second one, I don't think I would use it, because I think once you have established one GX, you probably win the game. I don't think you need a second one. Similar how Blitz Omni used to function in this deck. Sometimes you play one, sometimes you play two, but this deck, this card's just so powerful that like you're never doing it on the turn that you Blitz Jesmon anyway, because it just costs so much. But on the following turn, where you get to establish this card as like a blocker in a big board, I think it's just so powerful, you know? So yeah, one copy of Jesmon GX. And that's it for all of the Jesmon, Royal Knight, Huckmon cards. From there, we're going to talk about 3 copies of Sistermon CL. Sistermon CL, really good. This is probably your best one. I think you should just play 3 copies of this card because this allows all of your, you know, big top end to function. Gaining a memory when digivolving is also crazy, so you can like put one in the front, force your opponent to deal with it, because if not, that means you're digivolving for cheaper on the following turn. So yeah, it's really, really good. 3 copies of this card, I think, is the wave. From there, 2 copies of Sistermon CL from BT6. Really strong card. Gain a memory on play, and then, you know, plus 2,000, making it really hard for your opponent to remove certain things. With the limiting of Sunrise Buster, this card is just so much more powerful, because once you deal with one Sunrise Buster, they can't Sunrise Buster you again. Like, it's just so strong. So, there's that. And then last Sistermon CL is the reboot one. You need to play at least 1 copy of the starter deck CL, because you play Jesmon GX and you play Genkumon X. So having that reboot ability is really good. And even in the mirror, sometimes they can't swing over your guy if they digivolve the Savior in the back, because then they need Jesmon X, which is a counter we're going to talk about later. And also, this is just a good search engine. Like, you can bring this back, search for a piece you need, and then go from there. One of the things that beats the Melga deck really easy is this kind of combination of cards, where Genkumon X, even if it doesn't have protection, you have Sistermon CL, you swing, it dies, cool. You swing Genku, Genku brings back CL, CL searches a piece, and then to end your turn, you can play like a Sistermon block, right? On your opponent's turn, this has reboot, so now your opponent has to go through this blocker, and then this blocker, and then this blocker, and they're not doing that in a Melka deck. It's not happening. So, same thing with Imperial. It's actually really hard to deal with. And in the following turn, if they bounce these cards back to your hand, okay, swing, play this for free, play Blanc again, go ahead. So, it's just a continuous loop against that deck, and it makes it so that that deck doesn't have a great time against you. So, and while you have this blocker that can't particularly be dealt with, especially if it's like 14k, right? Or if it's, you know, 13k because of the 15, whatever amount, because of the Bauhuck. When you have combinations like this in play, even against like Imperial, it's really hard for them to out this. Like, really, really difficult. So, that's why you play at least 1 copy of that and know these cards are going to get out of order. That's okay. Lastly, we are playing 3 copies of Sistermon Blanc from BT6. Old Blanc. Gives everything blocker, really good draw card. So, and then we are playing 1 copy of the new starter deck Blanc. This one, I was playing 2 in the GFG deck, but that's because you need a second one to even stand a chance against Alpha. With Alpha not being as popular of a deck, and with, you know, you not having to really protect Solarmon as often, I think you only need 1 of this card. It's fairly average now. So, yeah. From there, a little change that I've made is I'm playing 4 copies of For Master or Disciple. The reason I'm playing 4 is because this is a huge differentiator in the mirror match. If you have this and your opponent doesn't, it's going to be a rough time for your opponent. And it's also the reason we're playing Gaussmon, is because, yes, this is really good in the mirror if you see it, but if you have Gaussmon, you're countering the counters. So we build a deck that's not only good into the format, but also counters the things that would beat us, which is what we strive to do over here at the Royal Knights in deck building in general. So, yeah, but 4 copies of this is great consistency engine. You usually only want to build like 1 stack in the back anyway, so being able to play this turn after turn is really, really powerful. From there, 2 last cards are going to be 1 copy of Judgment of the Blade. With more mirrors being prevalent and maybe less alpha, Judgment is really good. This card helps you beat cards like Venusmon, which I expect to have an uptick in use. Yeah, different things like that. I think it's just a really good card in general. So being able to play Sistermon for free and then add this card in the hand of hidden security is super powerful bomb. So, and then the last card in our deck is Crimson Blaze. Crimson Blaze is really good next format. Really good into Bloom Lord. Can potentially be really good into Blue Flare if you go ahead and hit the Gaussmon and then, Crimson Blaze the Gaussmon. Then they can't play a guy for free. In the mirror, it is ridiculous. It is actually a game-breaking play to be able to, even if you don't clear your opponent's entire Jesmon board, you Crimson Blaze them at the end, and then you make it so that they can't retaliate against you, which is huge. Yeah, super powerful card, guys. I think one copy is warranted in the EX3 format. If you're still playing BT10, I prefer Gaia Force over this, just because it deals with Grandis and X4 and stuff like that. But with those cards theoretically being out of the format, a copy of this is really good. You can even play a second copy if you don't want to play a copy of Judgment. But I like, 1-on-1 split of these cards. So, and that is the 50 card deck for EX3 post ban list. I think it's really strong. I think it has a lot of merit to it. I think there's not really a bunch of cards that I would consider, but just in case you guys would like to consider them, I've placed a plethora of cards over here. So second Chimeramon is going to be in case you wanted to replace that Savior. Like I said, it just gives you a little bit more versatility, but it is less searchable, so it may cause you to break a little bit more and may cause awkward hands for you. So that's why I've only chosen to play the one. This Huckmon's okay. It's not great. If we had the promo Huckmon, I would definitely be playing 4 of that card because it just gets so much value. This card's okay. It's fine. Plus 1,000 to your Bowhook is good, but with Sunrise Buster being limited, that plus 1,000 when you swing your Bowhook doesn't really come up anymore. So there's that. Additional copies of Solarmon. You can still do this to play around Death X, play around Blue Flare if you're more scared of Blue Flare than other decks. I chose to do a 2-2 split, but based on whatever becomes popular, you can switch your floodgates accordingly. Second Sistermon Blanc. I talked about this. You don't need this because Alpha isn't prevalent anymore. But if you would like to still play it just for the draw engine, you can. I would cut a blocker Blanc. From there, we're not playing, I'm sorry. Red Memory Boost. The reason I'm not playing this card is because you're already really memory efficient, and Blitz helps a lot in the deck to not having to be as memory efficient as you would think or like. The other reason is this bottom deck's too many cards. So because of that, I've chosen not to play it in this version of the deck. I think the 2-drop is a lot better. Second Genkumon X Antibody, like I said, if you're more focused on trying to beat decks that bottom deck you or having a big blocker, different things like that, or really pushing that Jesmon GX combo, add the additional, cut the other Genkumon. But yeah, I just chose to play the 1-on-1 split for now. I may even go back to the second one of this, but I think the other one is warranted. And last card is Gaia Force. There's going to be a lot more wide boards in EX3. So the only way I would probably add a Gaia Force back into my deck is against Examon, and I think they have a keyword that's evade or something. I don't really know how that works, but yeah. So tower decks, if you expect to see a lot more tower decks like Grandis, stuff like that, you can cut the Crimson Blaze, you can cut the Judgment, and just play 2 copies of Gaia Force, and then you'll be good from there. So, tailor it to whatever tournament you're expecting to play. And that's a really cool thing about Digimon is every single tournament you should have some type of deck concession to yourself based on what you think is going to be popular, because not every tournament's going to be the same. So those are just 7 additional cards I want to show you guys. Now I'm going to go over some comments. So hold as I pick up my phone. Congrats on the win, Christopher Garcia says. I'm sorry if you didn't want your name mentioned. I'll try to, keep that out. Where do you feel the flex spots are in your list? Flex spots, I'm going to go over. These, the 4th one of this, but I don't recommend that one. The Huckmon, the 4th one. The Genku. And unironically, this card. I think these are 6 cards that you can consider cutting and putting in something else for. I don't think they're as popular, or that they're as powerful as some other cards. And then the floodgates are all, also flex spots in relevancy to whatever you expect to play against. So those are flex spots, Chris. And for anybody else, those are flex spots for the deck. And you can tailor those to any of the other texts that I showed you earlier, or anything else that you think is spicy and wild and really good. So let's go. To Tuberculosis says, maybe I missed it in the video, but what's your general win condition / strategy into blue flare? It seems like a matchup that's easily in their favor with being able to just stun your entire board. That is very true. They can stun your entire board, and in EX3 they get a card called Sorai. Here is the issue with blue flare. If you establish a Solar Mon, and typically they only really have like one out to this card specifically, and it's like the one cost option. So they have to draw the one cost option. If not, their Metal Grays cost a lot, and then if you just aggress them early, full combo, like don't even be afraid to put the bodies out, right? Because then they have to stun you, and then after they stun you, they have to do it again, and then after they do that, they have to do it again, and after you do that, they have to do it again until they can try to kill you. So because you aggress and you put so much pressure on the board, they have to play defensive the entire game. So if you're just not afraid to get stunned, and ideally, if you keep the... Sorry, let me see if I can try to find it. If you keep this Jesmon and not this Jesmon, so against this matchup, like I would stay in this and I wouldn't Digivolve into this. Or I wouldn't Digivolve over this. I would just swing this, and then just continuously have this, because then this plays additional bodies every single turn that it swings. Whereas, like, if you have this one, it doesn't do anything like we talked about earlier unless you save your Huckmon underneath. So if you can keep this Jesmon plus a Solarmon, you're probably going to win that matchup. That deck also has consistency issues. Like, Christopher's not a very good card. Their best card is Blazing Memory Boost, and then they need pieces, right? So I understand where the concern would come from, but at the same time, guys, just be a little bit more aggressive with them and then go from there. So that's the overall strategy. I think it's just like establish this, and then like create another stack in the back. Force them to deal with your whole board, because if they cannot deal with your whole board, they lose every single time. That deck doesn't play removal, so stunning is not enough. It's not like Blue Hybrid where like it had removal and it stunned you, and it was fast, and their cards were uninteractable. You can interact with these cards, you know. So yeah. So somebody said Mr. J's strategy plays. I really like that name. Tried finding an answer in the video, but did you ever feel like you missed having a memory setter tamer? I have two, but I could take those out and put the mem boost and some removal. The reason I don't miss a memory tamer is because of the 2-drop option. The 2-drop option actually just does so much for your plays, and this having blitz, like you're always blitzing the past turn, and then you can memory manipulate right after. So being able to go to 3 isn't like a big deal. Sometimes it's a deterrent actually, because if your opponent knows they're going to 3, they can make broader moves. They can make more powerful plays because you're going to 3 anyway. So I might as well, instead of, oh, I have 1 memory, my opponent's going to 3, I technically have 4 memory. Or like, I'm at 3, my opponent's going to 3, I technically have 6 memory to play with. So if you think in that regard, there's that. And yeah, a memory tamer is really cool if hidden security, but in your hand it's just so dead. And you don't need to push out the additional damage. Hero doesn't need to buff up your guy. And the memory tamer also adds to your Death X count. And if you add to your Death X count and don't have Solarmon, you're going to have a bad time. Whereas you usually want to keep your Death X count to like, oh, they have to play Death X for 8. Like, if they play a Death X for 8, that's fine. That's okay. If they start playing Death X for like 5 or 2 or anything smaller than that, you know. Yeah, so. Alright. So, Ruler, who is somebody who has asked me plenty of times about Jesmon advice, says, I've been struggling to figure out when to get Solarmon down versus Crossheart, because sometimes you can't blitz and keep turn to pass with Solar, and if you start on Solar, they can just Fireball. Interesting how you approach it. So typically I like to do plays where and Crossheart isn't going to be a huge thing in EX3 anymore because of the hits, but typically I like to do plays where I just swing, I establish my board, and then I try to play the Solarmon right after. So even if I'm at 1 memory, my last play will be like play Solarmon. Solarmon's really good in combination with like Jesmon X and like Genkamon X, because then it becomes plus 2000, can't be depleted. So it's really hard to remove. In the upcoming format, Blue Flare, like they can't really remove this. It's really hard for them to remove it. So you shouldn't have that issue anymore. But that's how I used to approach it. Was just like buff up my Solarmon, be as memory efficient as possible, and then go from there. Someone asked me, how do you feel about Starter Deck Genku? I gave you guys my opinion on Starter Deck Genku. Let's see. What would I take out for the second Jesmon GX? That is a very good question. If I would like to play a second GX, one, like I said, the deck changes in quite a bit of the things that it does. Like I wouldn't play this Genku, I'd play a second Genkumon X, that'd be the cut. If I want to play a second Jesmon GX, I would cut a Huckmon and go down to 11 rookies. That's where I'm at. I think the floodgates are kind of important in the format, and if I deem that the floodgates aren't important in the tournament that I'm about to play in, then I would cut one of the floodgates. So hopefully that answers your question. Someone said 3 blocker blocks is a lot. It's easy to get rid of and take away blocker from all the other sisters. Kind of not really. 5k blockers are really strong. 5k blockers that can't be bounced are insane. And then 7k blockers that can't be bounced are really insane. Really, really good. But yeah, I can see the concern. The only thing is, like, there's not better options. And I think there's just not better options for Sistermons. And I don't want to cut down on the Sistermon count, because then I'm not going to see them as often, statistically, mathematically, like all the way around. So I really like that. If you want, like I said, you can play 2 of the blocker Blanc and then 2 of the decoy Blanc. And then from there, you'll have a okay time with that. Someone asked, what are your thoughts on the list, including the 1 to 2 Chimeramon? I already gave you guys that info. Like, you could play the second Chimera, cut the Savior. You could play 1 Savior, 1 Chimera. I think you play at least 1 Chimera. What's the minimum number of rookies you think should be played? So I like to go based on starter cards, not particularly rookies. So if I were to look at my deck really quickly, guys, I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to pull out every single starter card. Okay, so if we look here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 starter cards. Rookies are always starters because you can evolve them in the back. They allow you to play the game. Searcher cards are always starter cards because they allow you to do something proactive on your turn. They always replace themselves in general, so that's really good. So that's why I include these Sistermons here. These cards are starter cards because they allow you to find pieces and allow you to play the game. And then obviously, like, your searchers, your rookies, all of that. So I have 21 starter cards, 21 out of 50. So I have at least 40%, over 40%, 42% of my deck is a starter card, which means I'm super likely to see one in my opening hand. It may not be a rookie, but it may be a starter card. So generally, I like to say you need 16 to 18 starter cards, but a lot of these cards serve dual purposes. And even if we weren't to include the sisters, right? Let's just take away 5. Let's just take away all the sisters and just keep in all the red cards. Now we're at 16. So we are in that sweet spot of 16 to 18. It's about 35% chance, or 35% of your deck to have a starter card, 32 to 36. So I go by the starter card percentage, not particularly how many rookies I should play. If I was going to say a minimum amount of rookies, I'd probably say 10, but you want to make sure you have at least 16 starter cards in your deck. I think that is very important. I think that's a huge differentiator between me and a lot of people's other deck lists and deck lists that I've made throughout my time playing Digimon, deck lists I made for people and I've seen them do really well with. So that's a thing. Someone said, what can I switch for Death Exmon? I don't play it. There you go. Odd question. Where do you get the playmat? So not this playmat, but the previous playmat somebody asked me about. True Champs Games runs tournaments on Thursdays. You guys can play for those. I played in Guy Force Gaming. I won this mat. I have actually like a plethora of mats I don't know what to do with anymore. So if anyone wants to, buy a mat, shameless plug, message me and I'll show you the mats and please take them off my hands. I love them all for what they represent, but I have way too many. What if they consistently memory choke you? What should I sub out for memory tamers? Like I said previously, you don't need a memory tamer. You just need to start seeing lines. Blitz helps a lot because even if you're passing turn, you're still doing damage, putting out boards, and then memory choking. So that's really good. Yeah, and with like this many starters and extenders and different things like that, like you're very rarely going to get put in a position where you can't play. So. Someone asked any way to play without GX or Death Xmon. Kind of struggling to get those cards right now. That's okay. If you're struggling to get those cards, just play the Jesmon X version. I think it's just as powerful, and you get a little bit more space because you don't have to play the Genkus, you don't have to play the Jesmon GX. So in that regard, I'd play maybe a couple more defensive options. You're playing more red cards, so you can play Memory Boost in that version. Yeah, so those would be replacements I would make if you can't play the Jesmon GX version. And I think that's it. Someone asked for the Discord link. Don't worry, I'm going to go ahead and put that in the description. I'm going to put Tyler's newest video from GFG in the description as well because he's a great guy, and I think you guys can get a lot of insight on that. And then back to myself, flipping the camera once again. Woo, we did it. So, guys, hopefully this was informative for you. I love putting out videos like this. I know I talked for a very long time, and if you stuck to the end, I very much do appreciate it. Hopefully this can be a help for you. If you have any more questions, I'll try to answer them in the comment section. Join the Discord. I do a lot of games on there. And for anybody that's supported me, supported my team, supported any of my friends out there, I appreciate all of you guys. And thank you for taking the time to listen to me and my crazy experiments and thoughts and culminations of things. So, bye, you guys. See you in the next one.